What's going on? This is Lewis here with Squeaky Clean, Clean Success Academy, and Clean Success Staffing Solutions. I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit about a situation that happened just past week. I believe I made a post in our CBN group talking about how I'm losing a contract. This is this is actually a church that we have and we've had for the past think a little over 2 years we've had it, right? And we got an email just saying that we are putting in our 30-day termination notice. And the reasons behind it was reliability and something or other that didn't really make sense. When I got the message, I was kind of taken aback. I was like, wait a minute, I haven't heard anything. Nobody said that there were any issues, nothing that we had to resolve or correct or anything like that. It caught me off guard. And for about maybe 5 minutes, I was like, man, this sucks. I didn't really want to lose that account. I thought we were doing well. And then I kind of got over it. I got over it real quick because I realized that over time, and as you go further and further along in this entrepreneurial journey when it comes to being a cleaning business owner, you'll understand that sometimes certain doors may be closed for you in order to make room for other doors to be open, right? So with that being said, initially I had a walkthrough for a big kind of community center facility that we have here in the area. And this was, I think last week or the week before this happened. So we got the letter last week. So the week before that, we had the walkthrough, right? And when we had the walkthrough, we sat down, I talked to the manager that was in charge and his assistant, and they were telling me, everything about the job, about what's going on with their current situation with how they have people cleaning really wasn't ideal for the amount of traffic that they had going in and out. It definitely was not something that was going to work over a long period of time, especially with the increase in traffic load or in the facility. So he told me, he said, listen, we have our budget is right around between 1,000 and 2,000, and anything above that is a little more difficult. So they have to go through a procurement. Well, between 1,000 and 2,000, they can say yes or no right then and there. But if it's above that, they're like, it's a little bit more difficult. And they had already had other people that had put in proposals. So I was cool with that. I'm kind of used to that being in a business, for a few years now. It's acceptable, it's understandable, it's expected, right? So, they told me what their bid was, did the walkthrough and all that other stuff. And I'm trying to make this video as short as possible because it can get really, really long. So remember, I got the letter saying that they were terminating, right? That same day, no, was it the same day? I think it was the same day. The same day, I got a call from them. Now, I submitted my bid proposal. What I did was I submitted a bid proposal with what can be offered within that budget that they had, right? And it was pretty much what they were getting right now currently with part-time and, a few hours a day, but they're looking for 7 days a week. So for between 1,000 and 2,000, it was only going to get them 5 days a week, maybe 3 days or 3 to 4 hours a day. So it definitely wasn't going to be enough for what they were looking for. But within that proposal, I also gave them another option that was pretty much close to double what their budget was, right? But within that option, I broke down the scope of work. I broke down how everything would fit within the 7 day a week cleaning. We were giving them 2 cleaners that were going to be there, and they would be able to kind of stagger their shifts. One would be a male, one would be a female, because there are men and female restrooms. What I found out that when you're dealing with, like YMCA's, community centers and stuff like that, and you have men and women restrooms, right? It works better to have a male and a female on the shift so that when those bathrooms and those locker rooms are being cleaned, they don't necessarily have to be closed down. For instance, if a male is in a women's restroom and vice versa, you basically have to shut that that restroom down because of it being the opposite sex and being on it, pretty much erring on the side of safety. So we did it this way and told them, hey, well, we're going to have alternating, male and female. That way, if a male is there, he's cleaning the male's restroom. It doesn't have to close down. It keeps the consistency of the people coming in and out, even though, it may slow them down a little bit with traffic. It does not close down the locker rooms for 30 minutes to maybe 45 minutes a day, which is an inconvenience to the people that are actually working, or not really working, but the people that are actually utilizing the facility. Sorry about that. So, with explaining that, and also explaining how, we can utilize, well, the other thing is they had no idea about how to order supplies and how many supplies they're going to need, when they need to order them. So what I did was, and what I normally do is, whether I get the account or not, when I go to a walkthrough, I'm always going to educate the potential client, right? And I let them know, whether you go with me or you go with someone else, these are some things you need to pay attention to. These are some things you need to kind of prepare for, just so that in the future, what needs to be done. And when you're bringing in people to kind of, interview or do a walkthrough consultation, what questions to ask. So I always educate them as much as possible. So I let them know, they took me to their janitor's closets, and I realized, okay, you are really, really low on supplies and you need to restock like right now, right? And I told them exactly what they needed, right? So I was educating them and letting them know, and they were very transparent with me and told me, they really don't know what they're doing. They don't know, what supplies they need to get. They don't know how many they need to get. So when I went into one of the restrooms, I counted exactly how many soap dispensers that they had, right? And I referenced that to how many soap dispenser replacements they had, and it did not match. They had 2, they needed about 20. And even though they were full, they needed to be ordered like ASAP, so that when they do get low with the amount of traffic that they have coming inbound or coming in through their facility, that there's no hiccup in, in them getting that supply put in there. And I noticed some other things, and I don't always like to put down cleaners and stuff like that, but I did, and told them things that were educating them and that helped them in their journey, whether they went with me or not. Well, I said I was trying not to make a long story short. I already made it long. But anyway, they gave me a call. They said, listen, Mr. Lewis, we would like to have a meeting with you and your team, and we would like to have a meeting with our higher ups if you could schedule a meeting with us. So with that being said, I knew that, that's pretty good considering how my proposal was double what they were initially trying to get. But they saw the value in what I was going to be able to provide. They saw the value in me and what I bring to the table and my team. So they realized that you get what you pay for, and you pay for quality, you pay for, reliability, dependability, all the abilities you really, really pay for. If you want to go the cheap route, then you're going to get what you've been getting, right? So it worked out in our favor that we were able to submit a proposal that was extremely detailed, gave them options within their budget and above their budget, that gave them the ability to say, okay, well, this is what we have. This is probably what we need. It provided value. We're going to go with the value. Now, I'm not saying that we have the account locked up, but, I'm definitely praying that it works out that way. So with that being said, when you're, when that door closes on, an account, and like I said, the account that I had was, it was 4 figures. It was, under 2,000, but it was under just over 1,000, right? Just over 1,000 a month. And I'm probably, if I get this account, it's going to be 3 to 4 times what I was bringing in, right? So when that door closes, right, it's not closing because, it's something necessarily bad. It's closing, in my opinion, because if it didn't close, you wouldn't make the move that you needed to make in order to prepare for that next opportunity that's being sent your way, right? Because if I still had that account, I would probably be still focused. I wouldn't have gone to the walkthrough. I wouldn't have prepared for the walkthrough like I did. I wouldn't have had the right mindset to say, okay, these accounts aren't going to last forever. So you have to always be, educating, always improving, always making sure that you provide value, whether you get the account or not. Because when you do that, they're going to remember you. I had an account, or I have an account now that I actually did not win a few years back. They went with another company. They went through that contract and they ended up calling me back that following year just because they remember the presentation that I gave, the value that I provided. They just went the cheap route and it didn't work out for them. So of course, when they came back to me, my bid was higher than it was before because, yesterday prices aren't today's prices. But provide value when you're doing stuff like that. When you're doing those proposals, you're doing those walkthroughs, always educate as much as possible, because you're not necessarily selling your, cleaning services, right? You're selling yourselves, you're selling what you can provide to the client. You're providing what value you can give to that client, and that's what they're buying from you. That's what they're purchasing from you. So you need to make sure you're able to provide value, education, and just go that route. So hopefully this video didn't get to be too long. But with that being said, we'll catch you with the next video. Take care, guys.